Hey, Shalom, Shalom, call halal, Yahbashim, Yashabashim, Bakakadash. Double honors to the apostles at the ass, salutations to the elect, men, women, and children that believe of the 1/3. The Israelite foreigners coming in back into the fold. Touch back on this, right now is Martin Luther King Day, and I was just like pondering Jeremiah 23:25. It says, I have heard what the false prophet have said, saying, I have dreamed. And it says it repetitively, like twice, through the Spirit, signaling that, Martin Luther King, because right now it's Martin Luther King Day, a national holiday. People don't, all these Jake holidays, people don't really, it's just another day off work, another day to bullshit around for them. And, but when you go into the history of Martin Luther King, our people was kind of rebelling and rising up. So basically what they created was a false messiah through Martin Luther King, as brothers like to call him. And he basically was set up to pacify people, which was to integrate us, take us from segregation. Because Jake, when they segregated, they do good. That's when you had like the Black Wall Streets and, these different towns, Rosewoods and these different towns Jake built when they segregated. Because more of segregation, you come together. Even when the Black Lives Matter, when the cop kill a nigga, what our people do? They like to group up and come together and come up with different solutions, and they only last for a minute, and then it's back to the curses and things wore off. But he was set up to pacify our people, and sell like the whole peace thing. But the Lord said, Isaiah 48:22, there's no peace unto the wicked, So he came with the whole peace thing to pacify people, and he was part of the Boule, Phi Sigma 5. He was part of the fraternity. So the Boule is French for burnt. So the elites, they wanted to create a group of sellouts that was a part of them but wasn't a part of them, meaning that like, we don't want niggas part of the Illuminati, so we gonna set up a underbranch of them. So, like Webb Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, these different so-called prominent black people, Oprah Winfrey, they was all part of the Boule, which means French for burnt. Like they was the basically lesser illuminaries. And Martin Luther King, really his real name was Michael Smith. He did the same thing that Martin Luther did in England. That's why he kind of gave him the same name when you go into the history. And basically he pushed that non-violence thing, and and the Lord said, what? The land got to be cleansed, Numbers 35:33. The land have to be cleansed by the blood of him that shed it. You can't, if you take a people and slaughter them, you got the way you cleanse that land is by shedding the blood of the people who shed it, and that's a judgment that's coming. And these people, these Edomites, they don't understand peace, and our people try to give peace and make amends and all of that, and it's still fuck you, die. Like Amos 1:11 says, he kept his wrath forever, against Jacob. So this whole thing was all bullshit. And when you come to find out that he was set up by Jesse Jackson, because at the end he said what to Harry Belafonte? He said, I think I led my people into a burning building. And that's when he started talking about death. I seen a mountaintop. He started, because he knew he went against the grain, So And he was into all freakism type sodomites and all that shit. Had dealt with all types of women because they, he's nothing wrong with dealing with, women, but he was basically set up, but they gave this image to the people to pacify our people. And that's the oldest trick in the book. Put somebody up there that looked like them as a puppet leader to control things, because people is less likely to rebel, or they wouldn't rebel as fast knowing that like one of them is up there. You know what I mean? But he's being controlled, And yeah, so that's a few pointers on him. And then on top of that, it's just like straight fucking mockery of Martin Luther King. Because one thing, they gave him his holiday or whatever, but also in all these cities you have an MLK. And them blocks is the most violent fucking blocks in the fucking, in America, in these cities. Like where I'm from, North New Jersey, it's a street called High Street. You know what I mean? That's the original street, but they renamed it Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. But if you're originally from North, you call it High Street. And right there on High Street, it's funny called High Street because that's where Prince Street, all the projects was at when you go back into the 90s and the 80s. And that's where all the bullshit, other parts of the city had its trouble, but Central Ward, they call it, on Martin Luther King, splitting through all the way going to like Baxter Terrace and the Spires and all of that shit cutting through, because you could take it all the way from like Clinton Avenue to like 3 miles down to like Baxter Terrace and all of that to the north side. And on that strip, you had Hill Manor. People, was like a project. Howard Street Project, Prince Street Project. And what went on there was a bunch of fucking decrepit, wicked, drug dealing, just bunch of buildings full of our people and a bunch of mayhem and wickedness. Then they knocked the buildings down and tried to like rebuild, but it was still the same. Matter of fact, it's a known blood gang, street Damu blood gang out there. I don't know about now on High and Spruce, which was Martin Luther King and Spruce Street was called. It's funny when they named the shit Sex Money Murder. That was like one of the top like headquarters of, as far as the that was a gang really originated like out of the Bronx, New York, but as far as North New Jersey goes, that was like one of the like major hubs of like the sex money murder, right on Martin Luther King. Then right here in Baltimore, you got an MLK out here, and man, that's a fucking wicked zone. In Oakland, out here in Bmore, you got fucking McCullough Homes and these Pennsylvania Avenue, and it kind of like separates like east from west, like a major drag through out here, but a lot of violence and like overdoses and shit happen. So Oakland got an MLK, all these, and it just shows that all that nonviolent shit and all that bullshit of nonviolence and so on was made mockery of. You know what I mean? That he saw our people, living in peace with the Edomites and holding hands and so on. But and his whole legacy was, because that's not according to prophecy. According to prophecy, the Israelites will get their revenge. According to Ezekiel 25:12, he will lay his revenge on Edom by the hands of my people Judah. And thus with great violence shall Babylon the Great be thrown down. So that's not, and the other nations is going into slavery. So that's not according to prophecy. you know what I mean, of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You know, and after he died and passed on, you know, all of these MLKs or Malcolm X Boulevards and shit like that, them be like the worst or one of the worst neighborhoods in these cities. You know, you see an MLK, a Malcolm X or some shit. You know what I mean? Maybe you should keep your head on a swivel or plan on getting that fuck up out of there not too long. You know, so a few things to meditate on as far as that. Hey, with that, shalom. Yahweh Shem Shabbat Shalom.